It's Heather. Gonna go ahead and shoot tonight's video, and I say tonight because this is like my normal hours of being awake, kinda. And it's not, it's like right in the middle, which is like what I like, kind of prefer which time to shoot my videos. That way I'm not having to do it as soon as I wake up, and that way I'm not having to do it right before I go to sleep. I always end up yawning so much. I think my brain is more tired than I don't know what. But then again, I have been told that like I have a 90% curvature in my nose, and my allergy specialist, when I went to him 15 years ago, and of course I could only go to him for a year, and I was on Zyrtec and all that, he's like, "You sleep a lot, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You have a hard time breathing, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dang." And then I've always kind of joked about it because, like, everybody in my family when I was growing up practically smoked except for my mom. And so I'm like, well, that's just less of me and Helen that because they smoked inside. They didn't smoke. And, like, I remember even the restaurants, we all had to go sit in the smoking section and stuff like that. And it was just this constant cloud of fucking smoke. And then I've tried to, mature and grow up and wanted to get my license and wanted to get a job and wanted to move away so that way I wouldn't have to put up with smoking or at least smoking in the house anymore. But that has not been in the cards, not unless it consists of me staying living with my parents all this time and kissing their ass 24/7. So I refuse to do that, so I've lived with my grandmother. This makes the third time, and then I had a place with my husband for 2 years, and then I had my own place for 3.5 years. So but like, I guess financially it's like I'm barely scraping by, and even though my family's dumbasses is like literally everybody in my family knows what it's like to do what they want to do at some point in time. Like my dad had a dirt bike and he's had motorcycles, and my mom has her shit, like her Elvis Presley collection, and she used to have a bunch of jewelry, and she put on makeup and she dolled herself up. My grandmother even dolled herself up, um, bought what she wanted to when she was with my grandfather, and she talked to me about that the other morning because I mentioned about my husband and about how like he like I literally, would have to like call him, let him know that I was spending money, how much money I was spending, all that and everything. And she's like, "Well, even though you did that, I sure as hell didn't do that with my husband. With my husband, I went out and I spent what I wanted to, and that was his job to provide. And so, I can buy what the fuck I want to, basically, is what she's saying." And she's like, "I can't believe that you did that. That just boggles my mind." And I'm like, "Well, the reason I did that, though, is because y'all were so controlling over me." Hell, I even remember her giving me like $10 for my birthday, and then she'd ask me what I spent it on. I'm like 7, and you gave me $10 for my birthday. And then, we see something in the store months later, and I'm like, "Hey, will you buy this toy for me?" And you're like, "Where's that $10 I gave you?" And I'm like, "I spent it." And you're like, "Well, what did you spend it on?" So therefore you taught me, to kind of, you couldn't just accept that it was gone and that I'd spent it. It's like I had to have proof, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm a kid. I spent it on candy, like, use your brain, you know? But, so anyways, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to take one day at a time because I seen this thing, and it's like, if you have a problem and there's nothing you can do about it, then there's nothing you can do about it. And even though for as far as finances, now I could sit here I could probably remove almost every app that is on my phone, even though I only have like maybe 5 to 10 that I've added, because my phone does not have a memory on it worth a shit. And even though I went and bought a memory card, all my photos are on it. And then to take and download them onto anything takes so much battery life and time and everything, like to download them on the internet or what the fuck ever, so that way I can get them off my phone, so that way there's a copy of them, because I don't have the money to just go buy another memory card to put in my phone. because I don't. It's just all a hassle. So I'm doing, it's like that song. I'm doing the best I can with everything I am. Like I'm doing the best I can. And even though some people might be like, well, you're making YouTube videos, why don't you make them the way that you're supposed to make them? That way you can make money off of them. No, like I don't know how much more plainly to put that. Because I don't want to. Call me stubborn, call me stupid. But it's just my morals, my values, my code of ethics, I guess you could say, that I'm choosing to live by. And so I'm not going to sit here and do this. And that's another thing, too. The YouTube Now that's coming out, and all these other YouTube things that are coming out. And it never fails. It's always like that. It's like Facebook came along. I remember Facebook. We were actually told to open up a Facebook account in school. Okay? Like, I was growing up when the internet was coming to life, basically. And, like, so I could use it there, what little bit I could, and was using it to learn about networking or what the hell ever, but then, not really or whatever. But then, like, literally, I never logged back in. And I didn't create my own actual Facebook until probably about 8 years ago. And then the only reason that I did that because I would go over to my parents' house, and I was raising a kid, and I didn't want to lose the pictures and photos that I had of my daughter, because I know that, like, things can happen, tornadoes, and stuff like that or whatever. And so I was like, if I put it on the internet, it'll always be on the internet. I'll always be able to access the photos of my kid. They won't be lost, and this and that. And so that's why I did Facebook. But I could only go over to my parents. I could only be on the computer for an hour, or two, maybe three if I was lucky, a day, and I'm only over there for 2 days out of a month, basically, you might as well say, or 4 days out of a month, where everybody else is on their computer 24/7 that's my age, like, literally, like, legitimately, like, that's how they became, or they kept their reputation, I guess you could say, of being, like, a very popular person, is because on top of them also having licenses and vehicles, because they had parents that gave a shit about them in that aspect. Oh, not to mention that, they had parents that cared about them, like, yeah, of course you can go to prom. Of course you're going to go to prom. Of course you can go to the football games. Of course you can do all this stuff, because you're an independent being now, and and all that. Like, my family, no, And, so anyways, it's just bullshit. But, so every time I kind of come up into knowing about something or whatever, it is a backtracked version of what the hell is actually going on. Like, it's like, the whole two steps forward, one step back. I'm always one step back. And then I made a reference in yesterday's video about Alice in Wonderland. And literally, I mean, everything is backwards. For instance, okay, my mom was married before she married my dad. Then she went out on a date with who I refer to as my uncle, but he's not my uncle. But he was my dad's best friend, and so he became our godfather. So after she left her first husband, and she could do whatever she wanted to because she was a divorced woman. Her words, not mine. I hate her for that. Because if that's the case, then why has she rode my ass since she found out that I was not a virgin? And why has she rode my ass ever since my husband left me? And why does she still ride my ass to the point that they rode my ass into and about my parenting all the time I've been parenting my daughter? Like, she's just an asshole. But anyways, so that was her own words. And so anyways, so she's divorced. Her dad loves her enough to help pay for her divorce or whatever. Her parents actually allow her to come back home because they love her, and they loved her enough to buy her a diamond ring and or diamond earrings and a rabbit fur coat so that way she could fit into school, plus pay school tuition so that way she could go to the school that she wanted to, because she didn't want to go to the same school as her brother because it was embarrassing. Like, I literally, when I, like, I'm like, how, like, I'm just like, how the fuck did I come from you? You know? Like, but anyways. So, she's divorced from her first husband, and she's dating people, and then she ends up dating my godfather, what is now my godfather. So she goes out on a date with him. It's the first or second, maybe third date. Maybe they only had like 3 dates or whatever. And she ends up going out with him and being his girlfriend. And then they go on a double date. And when they go on a double date, well, they end up dating each other's partners, basically, for as far as I understand. So she's on the double date, and she basically likes my dad more than my godfather. And so my godfather's like, I don't give a shit, because, and my mom's like, well, I don't give a shit, and so nobody gives a shit, basically. And how the hell that even come to be without some like people knocking each other out and shit, and him still ended up being my godfather, supposedly. And I say supposedly because, what's the definition of a godfather and the way that a godfather should behave, basically, to his godchildren. And I get into that because there's a lot of people that I see that they have godparents, and their godparents are really fucking good to their, god kids. And if you don't know what a godparent is somebody that if both your parents die, then it is their responsibility to else take you in and raise you, or to make sure that you go to a good family and still check in on you very often to make sure that you are having a good life with a new family. That's what a godparent is. But anyways, but it also means, in my opinion, that they're supposed to check in and help while you're still being raised by your actual parents. But apparently it doesn't mean that. But I think it does, and so does a lot of other people too. But then there's people that don't believe that, and they're kind of, and then there's the people that just don't believe that at all, and it's like, oh, I'll see you every 5 years because I'm your godparent. And it's like, no. But, so anyways, it's just a bunch of BS. But anyways, so my mom and them, they went out, and my mom liked my dad. Well, my dad didn't even like my mom, though. This is the story that my mother even told me. My dad was like a player, I guess, and he didn't even like my mom. And so my mom pursued him. Now, I'm under the impression that my mom pursued him because he walked around being this great guy that had a motorcycle and a dirt bike and was wanting to be, a motocross star, even though he wasn't in motocross any at all. And he pretty much lied, basically, and was like, yeah, I'm paying for this trailer. Okay, he was making the trailer payment for as far as I understand, or helping with it, but my grandparents were still paying the bills, the power, the water, the electricity, the groceries, and all that shit. So anyways, my mom just hears cha-ching, basically. Oh, he's paying for what? A trailer? Ooh, I love him. Like, basically, that's what I'm understanding. This is all, this is the stories that I've heard, But the thing about my mom, and well, I was a married woman, and so whenever I got, a divorce from my husband, I could do whatever I wanted to. And she was in her early 20s when she's, when that happened. Here I am, 30, and she still is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, are you seriously asking me that? But anyways. So, my grandmother that I'm living with now even told me that she recalls receiving or answering the phone, and it was my mom calling to speak to my dad. And my dad would sometimes ignore her, sometimes didn't want to talk to her, or what the hell ever, and she'd just keep on calling, and basically she pursued him, chased after him. Well, then they got together, and they were together for, I don't know, a year or whatever, or 3 months or 6 months or something. And then, long and behold, she wound up pregnant with my sister. So when she was pregnant with my sister, like, I guess a month pregnant with my sister, they got married. And then she just moved in with them because he was still living at home with his mom and dad. And so she just moved in with them, and he's making the trailer payment. And then my sister comes along, and then everybody spoils her rotten because she's the first grandbaby. And so she's got 4 adults, basically, that at that point in time also, and the whole credit card situation, charge card situation over here. Everybody could have credit and charge, and just charge and charge and charge and buy and buy and buy. And so that's what they did. And then I was born a few years later. My mom had a miscarriage in between us, or before she got pregnant with me, or some shit. And then she, got pregnant again and ended up having me. And oh, God, this life. I don't know. And then I met my / uncle, godfather, and I remember seeing him a lot. I remember a few times, people, all the family'd kind of be over at the house, and we had a big back porch, and they'd all be out there. And I remember being real little, I think they stopped drinking over there, basically, by the time, I was old enough, because maybe by the time I was, 3, I was like, that's not, I don't know what happened, or they got into a fight, or somebody stepped on glass out in the yard and cut their foot open, or somebody hit somebody with a fucking beer bottle, or I don't know. But, I mean, basically, it was and I'm not saying it was very often, but it was at least once a year during the summer, I guess. It's there'd kind of be quite a few people there. There'd kind of be my uncle and my aunt and their kids, and then another family, or it could have been birthday parties because me and my sister are both summer babies, and so maybe they came to our birthday parties and, they decided to drink or whatever and stuff like that. And I think I remember even seeing my dad with a beer once or twice or whatever when I was real little and stuff. And I think it was that's what made him kind of be to the point that he used to try to throw shit at my mom when I was real little. But and then my mom would holler at me. I mean, I'd just be in my bedroom or get done using the bathroom or something, and I'd hear Heather, Heather from her bedroom, and I'd go in there, and I remember once or twice having to knock on the door so that way I could be let in. She's hollering for me. And he's got her, I don't want to say pinned in the room, but technically he kind of did, He wasn't going to open the door. He wasn't going to let her out because he's mad at her and he's trying to talk to her and she wasn't listening. And they was arguing or whatever. And so she'd just holler for me because, what more do you do other than use a baby, I guess, logic, the manipulation of her mind, done knowing that I'm a tool to use against him to make him stop, basically. And it's just, man, this life has been shit. Can I have a redo? But anyways, so then I grow up. And then my mom, I remember she had the sex talk with me way before I was ready for it. She had the period talk with me way before I was ready for it. And I even respectfully tried to tell her 8 times when she was talking to me about my period to just shut up. Literally, I was watching TV and she's like, hey, come back to the bathroom. I want to talk to you about something. And I'm like, what the fuck? The bathroom. And I'm like, God, this family just gets weirder and weirder. And I'm like, fine, I'll be in there in a minute. So I waited for my episode to go off and I went back there. and it was like my sister's bathroom. And my mom starts talking to me about period. And I'm just like, yeah, like I'd been raised around a house full of women that didn't give a shit to basically let their tits hang out in front of, like, you if you were the same sex and gender, It's like, oh, and that's even like my cousin and my aunt and stuff. Like, I used to be like, there's something wrong, in my opinion, when she's like, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and you're like, 40 something, and y'all are standing in a bedroom together, just naked, just throwing clothes around at each other and helping each other, get dressed. And like, it was just too much for my brain to, like, I was like, no, I like boundaries. And then they couldn't respect me for me liking boundaries. Like, I was like, God, what y'all all do? Just go join a fucking hippie clan and get high and run around naked in front of everybody? And then, so now you're just like, oh, it doesn't matter because females and females and females and females, and we can just run around naked and try on each other's clothes and laugh and giggle like sisters. And I get to a degree that, like, you were supposed to have been like that. And like the Bible and Adam and Eve and the nakedness and not knowing that they're naked. And then, oh, well, we're the same gender, but I was just like, put on some fucking clothes, man. Like, that's all I wanted to say. I don't know how many times when I was a little girl, I was just like, I don't want to see this. And I remember when I was real little, like, trying to kind of just, cover my eyes because I didn't feel right. Like, I was literally, I don't know if it's because somebody touched me when I was little, but even if they wouldn't have, I still would like to think that my brain would have been like, I don't like this. I don't like seeing a bunch of naked people run around. Like, if I'm going to do that, like, in all honesty, if I was going to do that even now, hell, I would just, like, I don't even know, like, because I don't want to see that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. But, so anyways, I remember them all trying on clothes and, here, let me help you put your bra on and fix this and that and and this is how, and here, and you're not putting your pantyhose on right. And like, it was just like something from the fucking 50s, or some shit where, the girls are helping each other get dressed and get ready to look their most beautiful so that way they can, like, seduce a guy based upon their aesthetic appearance, and I'm just like, I hate y'all. Like, that's all I used to think is, I hate y'all for being so gullible to fall into this trickery of life, and just give up and be like, yeah, men like us because we're pretty, so therefore let's be pretty so men can like us. Like, I don't know, like, it was just mind-boggling. Like, so, I don't know, my life is just... But anyway, so my mom she took me back there, and I'm like, what? And she's like, I want to talk to you about your body. And I was like, I've done heard the basics of what I need to know. And she's like, what have you heard? And I'm like, you bleed, you put on a pad, or you wear the tampon. And I was like, and it hurts, you cramp, and you take medicine for it, and it lasts for a week to 10 days or whatever. And I was like, and she's like, how'd you hear that? And I'm like, for starters, I've watched My Girl. For seconds, I've watched other movies and shit like that. For thirds, you watch soap operas that have people, like, having basically sex in it to a degree in front of me 24/7. I know all the feelings and emotions and the this and the that. And I know that you don't talk about it, and you think that I'm just some blatant idiot, sitting there like, why are people rolling around and, in their bed? That looks like fun. I want to do that, like I'm retarded, like I think it's like, a game of tag up under the sheets, or some shit. Not like, no. Like, give people the fact of they have common sense. I'm pretty sure a cat and a dog doesn't go, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, or even birds or any other animal or mammal or what the fuck ever doesn't go, hey mom, hey dad, talk to me about sex and teach me about sex. So this whole, that you have to like teach about it or about periods and stuff like that, it's kind of a little overrated to a degree. I mean, yes, to a degree, it does help, and to a degree, there are some times like you kind of do need the knowledge and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, if. Okay, basically, let's say you're the first person on the face of the planet and you're born, okay? And you grow and you live for 20 years before the next person is ever born comes along. And say you can take care of yourself, like you are self-sustainable and stable and all that to take care of yourself. You're self-sufficient, like by the time, like as soon as God created you and put you on the earth, you could walk, and like hunt, or he just put a tree, a bunch of garden shit in front of you and you could eat, and you figured shit out on your own, basically. So, but over that time, you're still going to have natural body things happening. And one of the most natural things, and see, that is the thing that has jeopardized some people's, like, sanity of the whole situation, is it's a natural occurrence. So, you're living in all this and everything, and you grow and you get taller. Did you need somebody to come tell you that you were going to get taller? Did you need somebody to come and tell you, that getting taller is okay, or that getting taller is bad, or that getting taller, if you get too tall, then that's bad, or if you don't get tall enough, then that's too bad? Like, do you really need all this hardwired bullshit information and stuff? Like, and you don't. But anyway, so I was just like, I was really tired, and I was like, yeah, I've heard of a period. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And she's like, no, 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 let me tell you. 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 And she just kept on, no, 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 let me tell. And I'm like standing there, and I told her like 8 times. I was like, yeah, can I go? Yeah, are you done? Yes, I understand that. I know that. I done learned about that. Remember, you signed that paper 3 years ago, you know, uh, because they started teaching it real young about your anatomy and body and all that. Like, it was like, I think the first time I ever heard anything about it, like I was probably in 3rd grade, basically. And then, like, again in 5th, and then definitely in 6th grade, And I was like, yes, I've done heard about it. But at this point in time, it's like it was like 5th grade, and it was like it was around the end of 5th grade year or whatever. And I was like, yes, I've heard about it. Yes, I know. Yes, blah, blah. Yes, yes, yes. And she's just like, duh, and I'm like, are you done? Literally within, I don't know, a few months, maybe just a few weeks, I started my period. And I'd done been carrying a pad in my book bag for over a year and a half for the day that I might start, because just my own knowledge, of knowing that it's around that time. And so I started while I was at school. And I remember just going up to my teacher and I was like, hey, I need, like, I felt it. Like, I literally felt me start my period, thank God. And I was like, something don't feel right. And I was like, oh, shit, I bet I started my period. So I went up to my teacher and I was like, hey, can I go to the bathroom? And I remember it was field day. And she's like, yeah. And like, I had to run up and go to the building by myself and go in, then walk my ass all the way down the long ass hallway just to get my pad out of my book bag, then walk my ass all the way to the other end of the fucking hallway to go to the damn bathroom. And then by the time that I got done, like, I put my pad on and everything, and I come out and everything, like, I went out and I sat, and they did like one more outdoor thing, and then I had to get up and walk back in because field day was done and it was time to go home. And so then whenever I got home, and after a while, I was just like, well, it's probably time, let me go check, and see if I need to change, or whatever. And I had to pee anyway, so I went and I needed a pad, and so I opened up the bottom cabinet and there's none down there, so I had to holler at my sister. My sister didn't respond, ignored me. I sat on the toilet for 20 minutes. I was so mad. I wanted to kill her. She finally come in there, and I'm like, do you have a pad? And she's like, huh? And I'm like, do you have a pad? Like, this is like my family everything. Like, I feel like I'm the only smart one that can say something and actually fucking mean what the hell I say when I fucking say it. And then none of them listen to me. And I'm like, Alice in Wonderland, And I'm like, do you have a pad? And she's like, what? Why are you asking? And I was like, do you? Because I'd done, thrown away the other one sitting there waiting on her for 20 fucking minutes, And I'm like, do you have a pad? And she just kind of, and she's like, you need one? And I was like, yeah, like, and I was like, my God, and she's like, so you need one? And I was like, yes, I need one. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I'm sitting there and I can hear her through the other bathroom. She goes to her bathroom to get a pad. And I'm sitting there for another 7 damn minutes. And I had heard her speaking, but I didn't know what she was saying. And she just came and handed me the pad, and she looked like a damn deer caught in headlights or something. She handed me the pad, and I was just like, sitting there holding it in my hand on the toilet, and she's just staring at me basically, and I'm like, and I'm just, I have to say it to her, because she's not gonna leave unless I say something to her, and I'm like, thanks, and she still stood there, and I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, well, do you know how to put it on? And I'm like, yes, I know how to put it on. For starters, it's self-explanatory, and for seconds, even if it wasn't, there are directions that are on the outsides of the boxes and the bags and the whatever that they come in, so I'm good. I can read. And I was like, and I know that you think that I can't because, I threw myself off some damn bleachers when I was a little kid. I'm like, but y'all are retarded. And then because I had a febrile seizure at the age of 3, and then somebody apparently looked at y'all and went, she's going to be retarded forever. And so just because, I had to be put in IEP classes to learn how to read at a rate that wasn't too fast, and to learn how to do math, y'all now think I'm fucking retarded, and I'm not. And I was like, so I know how to read. And she's like, okay, And so I put on the pad, and I just, I go back in the living room, and I'm sitting there, I'm watching TV. I'm in my own little world. My stomach starts cramping. And my mind automatically, even though I don't realize the full-on effects of everything, I'm like, oh, pain, Tylenol. So I went and took some Tylenol. Sitting there, another 5 or 10 minutes, my sister, she's like, what are you doing, or something? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, come back here. And I'm like, huh? And she's like, Mom's on the phone. And I'm like, okay. And I went back there, or it was something like that, or maybe she told me, she's like, well, whenever you get done, maybe I didn't take the Tylenol first. Maybe I did that afterwards. And she's like, well, whenever you get done, come back here. And I'm like, why? And she's like, Mom's on the phone. So I get on the phone, with Mom or whatever. I go back to my sister's bathroom. And I'm like, and she's like, she wants to talk to you, And my sister's acting like, I don't know, basically I got asked out by Prince Charming or some shit, And I'm just like, is everybody insane? Or is everybody high? And I'm just like, and she's like, Mom wants to talk to you. And I'm like, hello? And my mom's like, oh my God, I can't believe, oh, my little girl, oh, and I'm just like, if I could murder every damn one of y'all right now, I would. I was so mad at the retarded reaction. I don't know how else to word it, but that's what it was to me. It was a retarded reaction. And concluding, I've kind of looked at my whole family like they're stupid at some point in time. I'm just like, yeah, it's a retarded reaction. And I hate to say that because it's my family and I shouldn't be that hypocritical. But holy shit, when they've been so critical of me my whole life, oh, you're retarded, and yet I'm not, then, it's flipped. And so it's vice versa, It's like, oh, well, I'm not retarded and you are, And, but the thing is I was thinking this shit when I was, before I even went to school. Like, I was like, there's something missing here, and what the fuck it is, I don't know, but it's not making any sense. And then whenever I've had that conversation with my grandmother, like the one that I'm living with now, like I've had that conversation with her once or twice, oh, she gets so mad. And she's basically like, well, if you think that we're retarded, then you just need to you just need to leave us alone, and you just need to get out of our life. You need to run away. You need to get the fuck out of here, and all this, and stop using our money, and stop using, our means of support for your life. And I'm like, for starters, I didn't ask to be born, okay? Y'all had me. Y'all couldn't take care of me emotionally. Y'all couldn't take care of me psychologically. Y'all can barely scrape the bottom at taking care of me financially. So I'm like, so don't give me hell and tell me what the fuck you think you owe me. Because I didn't ask to be born. And I get that you didn't either, but you didn't have to, and I get that my grandmother, she's not my mom, but at the same time, she didn't like talk them out of, like, I mean, when they were pregnant, she could have been like, isn't this going to be too much stress on y'all to have another kid? And I could have been put up for adoption, and I may have had a different life. But that didn't happen. But anyways, so, that was that situation. Well, then years pass. Then I'm dating at school, and I'm trying to talk to my mom about how I'm dating at school, and we hold hands and we might kiss occasionally. And she's like, you're not dating. You're not dating. That's not dating. You can't date. I mean, just hateful all the time. So I couldn't even talk to her about it, or about liking anybody or anything. And then if I spoke about a guy that treated me good, oh my God, you're talking about somebody looking like they, grew horns and sprouted a damn tail out their asshole, like just enraged and mad, basically. Like, well, I don't want to hear about somebody treating you good because your dad doesn't even treat me good. And we're not even, having... And I mean, I'm little, and my mom was talking to me about them not having sex, basically. I'm like, I don't want to fucking hear that. Like, I'm a kid. Like, it's done bad enough that I had to be around all the shit I've been around because of y'all. And y'all's failed parenting. So I'm just like, la la la. And I remember sticking my fucking fingers in my ears at times when we'd be in the car together and just being like, la 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 la, I can't hear you, because I didn't want to listen to her. And she would scream at me when I did that. And I would just try to laugh it off. And I was like, I don't want to hear about it. And then I'd roll down the window and I'd like scream out the window at anything, like, be like, hey, like if I seen a dog or... or be like, hey, Trees, how are you today? I really care more about what you're up to than what this woman over here is trying to talk to me about. She's trying to tell me about her sex life, and I'm just kidding. I don't want to hear about it, And she'd just get so mad at me, and she'd shut up. Then she'd, like, clam up. And then we ended up cutting on the radio or the music and listening to the music in the car. Thank God for music. Thank you, Jesus, for music. And it was the only thing that we could even... kind of halfway decently get along with, or about, or through, or whatever. But so then I met I was dating, and I met this one guy at a football game, and me and him decided to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and me and him talked religiously, I shit you not. And then there, the last year we was together, he'd kind of skip out for a month or two, not talking to me that much, and then he'd talk to me. Well, he went to a different school than I did, and that's how we met at the football game. And we only seen each other like 3 or 4 times during the 2 years. As a matter of fact, I think I even seen him once later on at a football game that I came to that was his, and I hope and pray to God I wasn't so just, whoo. I mean, that I ended up kissing him. I hollered at him, and I'm like, Mike, is that you? Because his name's Mike, and I'm like, Mike, is that you? And he's like, yeah, and like, I pulled him over and gave him a kiss or whatever. I hope it was him. I hope it wasn't some other guy that looked similar. I ain't even gonna lie. But so anyways, me and him were together. But that's the only way we was together, and we weren't intimate or anything for as far as sex or anything sexual in nature, and I wasn't with anybody. Like, I just wasn't. And so then I tried to break up with him, and I was trying to date this other guy named Steven, and Steven was very respectful of me because once or twice I kind of hinted, and I was like, let's just, like, we like each other, I was like, we like each other, buddy, come on, admit to it. And I was like, I know you like me. And he's like, well, yeah, and so he'd start eating lunch with me. And even his friends would be like, y'all need to date. Why aren't you dating? And I'm like, because I have a boyfriend from fucking different school and I got to break up with him so that way I don't feel bad. And so my piece of shit boyfriend, Mike, wouldn't answer the goddamn phone. And Steven came to school one day and he was upset and he told me that he was going to kill himself. And I hadn't known him that long. I'd only known him a few months at that point in time. And I was like, oh. And I was like, you're just having a bad day. You're just depressed, And I was like, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it, And that's the thing, too, is like I gave him my phone number. And he never really called me. He called me maybe like once or twice, maybe. But he never really called me. But also, I kind of informed him not to. Because I told him I didn't want my boyfriend, if my boyfriend called, for me to be like, yeah, I was on the phone with, because I'm very blatantly honest. And he drove me home once. I remember. Like, I remember running, I did it on purpose. I missed the bus on purpose. Like, because I knew he had I think it was a truck, if I remember correctly. Because I only rode home with him once that I can recall of. I was like, hey, will you give me a ride home? And he's like, yeah. But, and he just drove me home. And I remember I was sitting there staring at him the whole time he was driving. Or whatever. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Because I remember at least asking him, and I think he did once, and then I tried to ask him, like, again. He's like, I can't today, I gotta do this, I can't today, I gotta do that, or whatever. But, and then I found, like, 2 other guys that, like, because I missed the bus a lot on purpose because the amount of drama that would go on the bus, and I was like, I would rather wait for an hour and a half for my parents to come pick me up or take my chances finding a ride from somebody else that I kind of know. I remember this one guy, Danny, he gave me a few rides home, but that was when I was actually with my kid's dad. I remember one day he threw on the fucking brakes going down the God-blessed bypass, and I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, did you see that? And I was like, what? What was it? And he was lying. It was nothing. He just was being an asshole. I was like, that's not even funny. But it was. And I'm like, dude, you scared the shit out of me, And he's like, I was just playing. But, and then this guy that I actually dated, like when I was like in 6th grade or something, and I can't even remember, I think his name was Jose. Like, I would have to look back at the yearbooks that I do not have, thanks to my brother-in-law who threw them away. So then I'd have to look back at my high school yearbooks, but then it's harder because the memory isn't from then, it's from middle school, so. But anyways, so I'm going to school and everything, and I'm waiting on Steven to date him. I'm waiting to break up with Mike. Mike won't answer the fucking phone, and then Steven just disappears. He tells me he told me, though, that he was gonna go stay with his grandmother for a little while, or move in with her, or live with her, and that I may never see him again, basically. And I was like, well, that sucks, and I was like, well, still, we could date long distance, and stuff like that, and he kind of made it like, no, that he didn't want to, and he didn't know if he'd ever be back, and I was like, well, still, I want to. And I was like, so would you be willing to, And, like, he just kind of seemed real distant and stuff. But anyway, so he told me one day, one time, and I still seen him a few days after, but he told me that he was going to kill himself. And I didn't believe him. And then 2 weeks after he was gone, I think it was about 2 weeks after he was gone, I found out that he did. And that broke me. And then that following year or summer or whatever is when I met my kid's dad. And I actually called Mike. I still stayed with Mike. Like, I tried to break up with Mike and tell him what happened. And I did for like 2 months, but then he kept calling because he felt so bad. And he kept calling, and so we started dating back again. And so literally that summer that I met my kid's dad, I'd literally just broke up with Mike. Like, literally. Like, I was sitting out at the place that I met my kid's dad, and I was like, because it was his apartment complex, and both of our grandparents lived there, and I was visiting mine, like, her apartment, because she's fixing to move out of it, and he lived with his grandmother, and so, broke up with Mike on the phone, and then the very next day, I met Adam, and then me and him dated, and we were together a year, and then I got pregnant with my kid. I tried to tell my mom when I started having sex. And she was done suspicious that I was having sex before, like, way before I even met Adam. Like, she just, like, she had a bad negative opinion of me. But mainly it was more my dad that had a bad negative opinion of me, I guess. And, anyways, I tried to be wise about it and be like, hey, put me on birth control. And she told me that there was no way in hell that she was going to pay for my habit. But the thing is my sister, who's 4 years older than me, when she found out my sister was fooling around with her boyfriend, she paid and had her put on birth control. But she claims that the reason she did it is because my sister needed to be put on it to regulate her periods. And there's a lot of bullshit stories of that. And I think young girls even use that to go to their mom, hey, because their mom's not going to follow them around, 24/7 and check up on that, And I think there's a lot of people that use that as a manipulation to try to get their parents to pay to put them on birth control before they even need it. But I'm not saying that I know that for 100% or anything like that. But even at that, my mom being as naive to realize that, yes, you're putting my sister on birth control to regulate her periods, but also you're putting her on birth control, end of subject, fuck the reason, and it's called birth control, and what it does is its main thing is to keep you from getting pregnant while you're having sex, and you did that for my sister, but you wouldn't do it for me. Just like you wouldn't pay for a prom dress for me. Just like you wouldn't pay for graduation for me. Just like you wouldn't pay for any dress for me except for 2. I got 2 dresses. My sister got like anywhere from 5 to 7. Let's see. The yellow dress, the navy blue dress, the purple dress, the white dress, the 3 velvet, like black or crushed velvet dresses. I think was there a burgundy? I don't know. I remember so many dresses, and I remember like you're a little kid, you're 4 years younger, you see your sister, growing up, and your parents are just flipping out cash left and right, to pay for, all these extravagant things, and then they don't pay for shit for you. You don't get nothing. You're not worth it. Like, damn, thanks. Not to mention the car that you bought her, and then you told her to not, and, I mean, there was 3 cars. 1 got wrecked by her, 2 got wrecked by different boyfriends, and each time y'all helped her get another car. I never got a car. And then on top of it, y'all took my kid from me. And I'm supposed to be okay with that. I'm supposed to be like, yeah, you're right, I'm insane. I'm a horrible person. Because that's what y'all been wanting me to say. That way it gets you off the line for being shitty parents to me. Like, no. Can't you just face you were shitty parents to me? You may have been extravagant, wonderful, magnificent parents to my sister. But you were shitty parents to me. Own up to it. Stop trying to put it on me. Take account, be accountable for what the fuck you did. And be accountable for what the fuck that you're doing every day that you keep my daughter away from me. But this is my life. And then I got all these people now, supposedly, since I talked to Honest, like, oh my God, do not join the LGBT community on Amino. Just don't do it. Because apparently, people just want to scam. They just think that it is about trying to find people to have sex with, for as far as I'm understanding. It's just, for them to have fun. They come there, they're straight. They don't even understand what LGBT community is. They almost look at it like it's a sex party, like it's an orgy fest, and it's not. Don't do it. Don't join. Back the fuck away from that. If you've ever been on Amino at all, just back the fuck away from it. Because I guarantee you, if you're a nice person like I am, you're going to have 50 million messages a goddamn day from all these people that claim that they're just there to talk or whatever. And they're not. Or they're just there looking for friends, and they're not. They're looking for somebody to have phone sex with, basically. And it's horrible. And you try to explain that to them, and they play this dumbfounded dipshit card, and you're just like, man, stop, But anyways, so I found out, just the other day that, that's the thing too, Honest reached out to me. He was kind of like, I need you as a friend. He wrote me and told me that he needed me, but only as a friend. And I'm like, okay, because, it takes two to tango, or whatever. It takes two to make things. And so I was hopeful, and I allowed myself to be naive. And so I'm like, not again. And that's the thing, too, is because of the reputation that he gave me, because of me doing that with him, and being naive with him, and allowing myself to, then everybody else is thinking, hey, she's naive. Ooh, boy, we found somebody. Poke, it's like somebody we can mess with. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm being responsible. I have to handle what the fuck I dealt out, but I'm just like, damn, would y'all fucking stop already? Stop, It isn't that day, it isn't that time anymore, your name is not Honest, no, you're not him, stop. And then, now I got Noman, what is it, Noman. I don't know which way is the proper way to say his name, because I looked that shit up, but I got Noman now that's been talking to me, and he's all on the same stuff, and he's not from over here, but he's more, he's my age, and so in that, he has some maturity about him that Honest didn't even have. And so I'm grateful for that. But it's I don't want people being naive with me, and I don't want people thinking that I'm naive with them, and I feel like that's kind of a little bit what's going on or some shit like that. And I don't fucking appreciate it. I'm not fucking happy about it. I'm fucking mad as hell about it. And I'm just like, would you fucking stop? And that's the thing, too, whenever I met Honest, he was like, oh, I'll come see you. And I'm like, you will? And I'm like, well, you better if you want this to work, yeah, you're going to have to come see me, because I can't come see you. I have no money, I have no way, there's no way in fucking hell. And he's like, yeah, I will. And then, a weekend, he's like, oh, so how are we going to work this where you come see me? And I'm like, what? You're funny, and so now I feel like that's the same shit going on with Noman, it's like, You know, all this time it was like, yes, I'm going to come over there, you know, and it's no problem for me to come over there and I'll try. And, you know, and I'm like, cool. You know, I'm like, hell yeah, you know, come hang out with me. See if you really do like me. Do get to know me, you know, or just come over as a visit, you know, and see if you even like it over here, you know. And he's like, yeah, I will. And I'm like, you realize this is all you. This is all going to be on you. And I can't have any responsibility in the aspect of getting you over here. Like, you know, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't even think that it works like that. I don't know how the hell it works, you know. And I'm like, but, you know, and he's like, yeah. And just the other day, just like yesterday, he's like, you need to come over here because if you came over here, everybody over here would love you and respect you. Because I've told him, you know, some about my life, and I'm just like, there's no fucking way I'm coming over there. You're funny. You know, like if I go someplace, if I travel someplace at some point in time in my life, and there's no guarantee that I will ever be able to do that, but if I do go, it's going to be of my own free will. It's going to be of my own accord. It's going to be because I wanted to. It's not going to be because somebody recommended it or tried to sell me on their, it's wonderful over here, you know, like, no, it's going to be of my own accord and of my own choosing. So just trying to, you know, and everything. And it's like, I get the whole gist of like, I watch all the, you know, 90 Days and all the friggin' Married at First Sight and all that shit and everything. And I get all the legality backwash, you know, and all this and just the bullshit and the money and the fine. And that's the reason I'm like, why are y'all even talking to me to a degree? I'm like, do I look like money? You know, do I look like I have money? Because if I do, then y'all are retarded, you know, like, and I don't know. And maybe they are. Maybe they don't process the information. I don't know. But I just. Oh, God, that's so funny. I have this other guy that just started writing me today, and he asked me, like, legit asked me for my phone number. He's like, hey, can I have your phone number? Because I'm not on here all the time, so that way I can still talk to you. And he's like, please don't say no. Because I told him no about something else earlier. And he's like, so please don't say no again. I said, okay. And I said, well, how about I tell you this? I said, how about I inform you that I don't give my phone number to nobody unless they're family? Question mark. I'm such an asshole. Like, don't play mind games with me. Don't sit there and try to be like, I love you. And then that's the thing, too, is he's even like, he said something to me, and he's like, he asked me something, and I was like, I don't want to talk right now. Or maybe I said that afterwards. And then he asked me what my favorite color was, and I was like, I don't want to talk right now. And that's the thing, is even though I made a video yesterday and I was like, somebody talk to me. Okay, that's different for starters. That's me asking somebody to talk to me. That's not me asking you to listen to me. And then I talk when I want to. Like, I don't know where men get off. This is the reason, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, maybe I am a lesbian. Like, maybe I'm just a flat out huge lesbo and I just don't know it yet because I've never been with a woman. But I literally hate this dictatorship, like, personality that's like, I'm going to tell you when you can talk to me now. I'm going to tell you when you can do this, and you can do this now. I'm giving you permission now. Like, it makes me want to hit somebody with a shovel, basically, because I'm just like, what did you just say to me? What did you just say to me? Like, you don't tell me, you know, like, the only time I want to hear now out of your mouth is when it's an emergency. End of subject. But I didn't mean to make this video this long. I sure as shit didn't mean to make yesterday's video so long, and I get tired of making them that long, but apparently I'm just drawn to do that, meant to do that, so But I'm going to end it here because if I don't, I'll lose it in another minute or whatever and it won't upload. But I hope everybody's doing good. Keep putting your best foot forward. And I'll catch you later. Take care. Bye.